Okay, we are back today and we're working on bench bleeding the master cylinder, which is a little more difficult than I anticipated. So I put this in my vise first to get it started, which did a good job on this front chamber. There hasn't been air in there for a long time. Getting this rear one done is proving a little bit more difficult, but I finally managed to get it finished. I got this dorming kit, which you can pick up on Amazon, or I've also seen it at O'Reilly. Little tip, when you put these plugs in, make sure you wrap them in Teflon tape. I was trying it last night without it, and it was sucking air in back through the threads, and I just kept kicking it out through the system, and I couldn't get a good bleed on it. So I pulled the master cylinder off again today and redid it, and I finally got it to a point where I don't think there's any air coming out of it. So let me double check it real quick. But I'm pushing on the brake pedal and not really getting anything out of there. Very little from the rear chamber. You can maybe see those bubbles in there. And it looks like that might be all that's left. So we'll give it a couple more times and keep going. Alright, so I had a problem bleeding brakes. I just could not get a good firm pedal, at least not as much as I liked. Just using the two-person method with one person pushing on the brake and another one running the bleed screw. So I had this old motive bleeder from an old Porsche I used to own, and it has this European adapter, which is way too small for the TR6 reservoir. So I went to Ace today and picked up some parts. This is a top I had from the old reservoir. I drilled a 1/2-inch hole in it. I bought 2 of these hose barbs. They're threaded. They are 3/8 by 1/4 hose barb. So I threaded that through there. I got 2 feet of this clear tubing that I attached on there with just a couple regular hose clamps. I got this big rubber washer. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. And this metal washer, which compresses that rubber washer down. And then I got this other, basically a coupling nut that fits on there and kind of ties the whole thing together. So I'll take you over to the car and show you how that'll work. And when you do this, you're going to want it a lot tighter than that, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So that just threads onto there, like so. Oops. Anyways, you get the idea. Then your adapter threads onto there, and you just pump it up to about 10 psi. I went around and did all the brakes twice with that, and I was able to get a really good firm pedal. It'll still be a little bit until we can test drive this thing, but I'm happy with that. And I put my foot on the brake and held it down for a while, and it stayed, so I think we're going to be good. I think all the air is bled out of there. I thought about getting one of those Mighty Vacs, but they had mixed reviews, and some say they didn't work at all, and they leak like crazy. So I think I put this whole thing together for about 15 bucks. Motive actually sells a kit on their website to do just this, but I didn't want to wait for shipping, so I just went out and got my own parts. So that's an option for you. If you happen to have one of these and have an extra reservoir cap, you might give it a try. I know a lot of people have problems bleeding brakes, and there's a lot of stuff on the forums about it, but so far this has worked for me. Okay, so I thought I had the brakes good, but turns out I didn't. Got a master cylinder problem. And I don't know exactly what the problem was, but either way, it's binding up inside. So if you've never seen one of these before, I'll show you. This little part down here, you can see the shiny bit down in there that the screwdriver's touching. That's what touches against the tipping valve, which is this little piece that fits in there. It'll focus, there we go. And when it's in there, when that part is back, when you're not pushing on the brake, it causes this valve to tip. that metal piece pushes on this piece, and it allows fluid from the reservoir to go down inside the chambers. For whatever reason, this wasn't tipping. It was either stuck open or stuck closed. So when you put it in there, actually, let me back this up. So you'll see when you push on the master cylinder on the rod, you can see how that part starts to move. And then when you let go, it comes back. You can just barely see it. There it is again. So with the tipping valve in there, this wasn't always tipping. It was stuck in either one direction or the other. So I pulled it apart. I couldn't quite figure out why. I think there is some internal leaks with the seals. That's how that goes together. This nut, it's a 1/2 inch hex, but that's what holds that valve in there. You can see as I push on this, it's not moving. So something's bound up in there. I took it apart, looked at it, couldn't find anything that was obvious. As far as pulling this apart, you have your 1/2 inch hex. Tipping valve just falls out. This may or may not want to come out, so you have to use some compressed air. You can put your air gun in there and just hold your fingers against these ports, and it'll push that part right out of there. And it comes out with some force, so make sure you got something to catch it with. So anyways, ordered a new master cylinder from British Parts Northwest. It's a TRW Lucas one. Brakes feel a lot better. I re-bled them last night. I'm going to do another bleed here in a second. I also adjusted the push rod coming out of the servo because the distance on that, the piston inside here was greater than what it was on the original Girling cylinder. So the brakes feel pretty good. The rears are grabbing good. The fronts are grabbing good. At this point, really, it's just going to need a test drive to work out the bugs. So now today, I'm going to start working on draining the radiator, get that swapped out, and go from there. So stand by. Thanks for watching, fellas.